Hi, thanks for joining us today on Shining Stars in South Florida Business. I'm your host, Danny Poulos, and we've got a very special guest today, sort of a local celebrity. He's been in business around here so long. It's Jim Cioffi. He's a local attorney, covers all things having to do with real estate and more, but we're going to pick on some really specific niche items today that you're going to find very informative and sort of fun. So, Jim, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure. Nice to see you, Danny.
You too. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and we'll jump right into it.
Well, I'm known as the Juris Doctor because I actually provide legal remedies for you. So I've got my stethoscope and my legal pad here.
Absolutely.
And I moved here 35 years ago, and I realized that real estate in Florida is really the niche area for an attorney. So that's why I started practicing in real estate. But I also handle estate planning and other related matters.
Right. So he's also a member of the JTHS Association of Realtors. So that's really the crux of your business is working with agents. So let's talk about some niche things. And we picked a couple out.
Yes.
Leases.
Yes.
What do people need to know about the legal aspect on leases?
Well, tenants really need to be careful because they need to know what their maintenance obligations are on a lease. They might just sign a lease and not realize they have to pay the first $500 of repairs or $100 of repairs. So they really need to zero in on that paragraph and know what their maintenance obligations are, because it could be very costly if they don't understand what their obligations are.
Right, and if they're using one of those one-page leases that they got at Home Depot, there's probably a lot of things that aren't addressed at all, right?
And there are a lot of form leases that are circulating, so it's important to know what the lease says, and that's why an attorney is advisable, because I can interpret the provisions for you.
And what many people may not know is that you may have the best real estate agent in the world, but they're not really allowed to negotiate or make changes in the lease forms, correct?
That's correct. They're not able to even give you legal advice. So It really takes the keen eye of an attorney to understand what those provisions are and explain them to you.
Right. So I wouldn't move forward with something like that without some kind of legal advice. Next thing we talked about before was power of attorney. People throw that around all the time. I signed for you. You signed for me. No big deal.
And it's so funny between spouses. Husbands and wives think they can sign for each other. Or parents sign for children. Really, you need a document called a power of attorney. It's a legal document that outlines what powers does one person have to sign for the other. And in Florida, related to real estate, they need two witnesses and a notary. So sometimes we get a power of attorney from another state, and it can't be used for real estate in Florida because it doesn't have two witnesses. So it's really important for your attorney, if you do have a power of attorney, to review it for you and let you know if it can be used for that particular transaction. And also, if you don't have one, let the attorney draft one for you with specific powers.
Is that something that takes time or just?
No, it could be done a very short period of time.
Okay, as long as it's addressed properly.
Just that we know what powers need to be utilized in the document.
Right, so don't just assume you have what you need, especially if you're coming from another part of the country.
Right, because you might need banking privileges. You want to be able to sign checks for someone or to make deposits or negotiate with that bank account. Or you might have real estate that you want to actually deal with. So there are specific powers, or there is a durable power of attorney that covers every conceivable aspect of powers that could be given to someone. Also, there's health powers. So you want to be sure you have a healthcare designation so that another person can sign on behalf of you. If you're in a hospital and you're unconscious, you need somebody who makes decisions for you. And not many people actually have those healthcare designations. And the HIPAA law, the Health Insurance and Portability Act, requires now that hospitals have written authorization before someone can examine your medical records. So your children can't really view those, or your spouse or anyone else, relatives, without that authorization.
So you really need to have that conversation with somebody, which takes us to the next thing we wanted to cover, and that was living wills.
Yes.
We all hear about it over and over and over again, but how many people really address it?
And it's remarkable. Only 30% of people in Florida have a living will. And all that is saying is that if I am in a comatose condition or there's no hope of recovery, don't hook me up to life support devices. Who wants to go through that if there's no hope of recovery? So you want your directions to be very specific, and that's in the living will.
Yeah, so it's not just a power of attorney.
Right. Separate documents, power of attorney, living will, healthcare designation, wills, trusts. I mean, those are all important documents that you need to consider.
Now, I know as a local attorney, you run into a lot of the scams that go on. Not that there's a lot of scams in Florida, of course.
No.
We're scam-free down here. So cover some of the things that we spoke about.
Well, one of the big ones going now is actually checks. You might think that you can accept a certified or a cashier's check or a official check from a bank. There are so many forged checks that are circulating. I actually received a check for a client of mine who was selling some furniture, and it was drawn on a local bank, and it looked official, but I actually had a legitimate one that I had gone to the bank to obtain, and I just compared it for the sake of comparison, and actually the font type was different, so I suspected something was wrong, and that was a forged check from a local bank.
Wow.
So if you're dealing with any type of sale of property, let's even say on Craigslist, you don't really want to accept any type of a check from someone. The best bet is cash or a wire transfer.
You don't see people writing checks that often anymore, though, do you?
No. You have to be very careful with a check.
Right. So if they are, you might want to be
or you want to
flag
make sure that check actually clears and is valid before you release any furniture or whatever you might be selling.
How about wire transfers? Those are safe?
That's an interesting topic too, because people need to know there's a difference between automatic clearinghouse transfers and wire transfers. If you go online, a lot of times now you can go online and set up a transfer to someone else's account. That's an automated clearinghouse transfer.
That's ACH? That's what that is?
Yes. And most people don't realize that's what it is. It's not a wire transfer. To do a wire transfer, you have to go to your bank and actually fill out a form to wire the funds from that bank to the next bank. So people go online and they prepare this transfer, not thinking that's an ACH. Well, what people don't know is that ACH, when it arrives to a bank, that can be withdrawn by the person who sent it. Without the person who owns the account knowing, or for any consent, it can be withdrawn.
It's like canceling a check.
Yeah. So the money could arrive in my account. That's why, as attorneys, we don't accept ACHs for a real estate transaction. Because if you sent it to me, within 48 hours, you could withdraw that. Here we've had the closing, and then you withdraw the funds.
And someone's got the keys, and
yes,
they're off.
Right. So no CHs are accepted, and don't even accept them in any other type of a transaction. You really want to know the difference. And you can tell when you receive it whether it's an ACH or a wire transfer.
Wow. Imagine not knowing that and being in the real estate business.
Yes.
Jim is a good person to know if you're trying to do any kind of real estate out there. The Juris Doctor. Jim, tell everybody how they can reach you.
My local phone number is 561-747-6000. My office is located at 250 Tequesta Drive, Suite 200 in Tequesta, 33469. And my website is jamescioffi.com, www.jamescioffi.com.
Jim Cioffi has been a shining star in South Florida business for a long time. Be in touch with him. Thanks, Jim, for coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.